and it's sort of challenging to do a play and not a musical as a part of these Broadway series, because those musicals is what sell, but for some reason people have navigated toward this play, which is interesting. In Atlanta, the Fox seat 4,600 people. Now we know we're not going to have 5,000 people at the Fox, but you have 1,000 people, and that's good, for a play. And I've integrated music in the play. So, in terms of the transitions, So I took old prison work songs, because I started thinking prison work songs, prisoners are just like these military people. They're prisoners because they had so much more to offer, but they could only play baseball, allowed to play baseball, and not to be the officers and the military men that they were supposed to be. So, so I said, oh, these guys, the transition should be these prison songs that I've kind of worked with and sort of integrated a black fraternity feeling of it. So that's really been engaging in the production as well.
Do you have a preference over drama musicals? Which one do you prefer to do?
No, I was like, I always tell my agent, I said, I'm with one of the biggest agencies now. I'm like, look, I'm a storyteller. That's what I want to go to my grave as, storyteller. He's told great stories that brought black and white folks together. He took that responsibility of these black stories and said, we're going to present them to a new generation. We're going to keep presenting them to America until America wakes up to some of these issues. But sometimes it's a musical. Sometimes it's like Hairspray Live or The Wiz Live that I did for television. Sometimes like Trading Places, the musical that I'm getting ready to take to Broadway. But sometimes it's like Raisin in the Sun. Sometimes like Fences. So it's like, I like television. I did Dynasty. I did Gossip Girl. I did part of the Colin Kaepernick story with Ava DuVernay. I did Amend, the evolution of the 14th Amendment with Will Smith and a bunch of other actors. So, I did opera. I did Toni Morrison's only opera with Denise Graves. And I'm prideful of that I'm a storyteller. I can tell a musical, I can tell a comedy, I can tell a drama. If I asked me to gun to my head, which medium would you not give up? That would be the live theater. I love live theater because you have the live community in front of you, and they're leaning forward to the work, and if it don't work, they go to sleep. If it does work, they're engaged in it. So I love that test. I love the challenge. I love the possibility of that. It can't work, but it's not that I'm not trying to make it work. I'm trying to make it work every time. So the thing I wouldn't give up is live theater.
Okay, well, I'm glad it never dawned on me to bring a gun to the interview, but for those hard questions. So, how different is the Kenny, the director for live theater, compared to Kenny, the director for film, movie, TV? Is there a hat shift or something that goes on?
I'm the same director. No matter what venue, whether it's stage, camera, set. Because I wrote a book 2 years ago, something my grandmother said to me, but I entitled the book after something she said to me. She said, take you wherever you go. So that's the name of the book, Take You Wherever You Go. So wherever I am, whether I'm on set with famous actors or on stage with non-famous actor or whatever, I try to be the best representation of myself, so that people like Denzel and Sam Jackson, they know they get an authentic Kenny Leon. So if I say, man, that didn't work, man, they know I'm telling the truth. And I would always say, what ain't working? This not no, that's horrible. What did he say? That yes, it's horrible. Let's make it better. So yeah, I try to be the same person because everybody else is taken. It's hard to be somebody else. It's like, just be me. But now it takes a different skill set. So like in theater, on stage, on a Broadway stage, you got 4 weeks of rehearsal. You got a chance to shape it. On set, you got 10 minutes. But what I've been able to do is to take those 4 weeks and squeeze them down to 10 minutes. So I'm still the same guy, but my rehearsal process is not 4 weeks now. My rehearsal process, 10 minutes. Tell you this in 10 minutes. Normally I would take 4 weeks to get this in your head, but 10 minutes, here you go, and let's roll them, and action.
So how do you know when you have a team, a cast of actors, just like through practice for sports, when you're getting ready for a game? How do you know when you got that cast ready to go? What is it that you're looking for?
It's always obvious to me when you have squeezed enough out of a material, when you have come close to the truth. And you can't be so hard on yourself and see it so one way in your head. You have to say, I'm looking for a version of the truth based on the people I have in this room. And if you get to the place where something is taken away from the beauty or taken away from the truth that you see, then you have to make changes. So in the first 7 days of a play, I'm not arrogant, but in the first 7 days, I'm looking to see who I have to maybe let go, because it's all about the script that the woman or the man wrote. So it's not about me, it's not about them, it's about the truth and the script. And the truth can always be found in the script. So when I get in an argument with an actor, I'm like, well, you can't do that, because on page 15, this is what it says about you. So you can always find the validation of the truth in some part of that script. So that's all. And sometimes I lose. Some of the actor, I might see it one way, and the actor says, no, Kenny, on page 3 it says this. So I said, oh, you're right. It's like I remember we was doing a Raisin in the Sun the first time I did it with P. Diddy. And we had that hard scene that he was trying to do when he loses the family's money. So as Walter Lee, he's lost all his family money. And as presented, when Sidney Poitier presented, and people remember, Sidney had a very, he's an amazing artist, and I've been lucky to be in a room with him. But Sidney, he had a theatrical approach to Walter Lee. It was very theatrical, it was very dance-like, mama, and it was beautiful. But it was truth based on that style. So when Diddy is doing it, he's like, Diddy knows what it's like to grow up poor. He knows what it's like to grow up on south side of Chicago or in Harlem. And so he was building character of truth based on that. So he says, okay, so when I lose this money, the guy comes in the door and he tells me he's lost all my money. And then 3 minutes later, you want me to burst out into emotion and says, Willie! He said, that's not truthful. And I was like, and for the first time with that great play by Lorraine, I was like, you're so right. I said, so Sean, what would you do? He said, he took my money? First of all, I'm going to take that dude out of my house. We're going to go to the train station in Salem. We're going to go every house, every stop he went. You went to the bar? Let's go there. I'm going to take him everywhere he went, because I don't believe it. I can't believe that he lost my money. So why would I get emotional? And I'm in a room with 3 women and my son. As a black man, I'm not going to break down in front of all those people before I know that the truth is the truth. And I was like, wow, Sean, that's a truth about the play that I think that's a flaw in the way people do that play. And what people do, they see what Sidney did and they just try to recreate that. And so I said, even if the press kill me for that, I'm going to follow your truth, because that's what I promised you when I hired you as an actor. And I said, so we're going to play Denial. So with that production, we played Denial, like, no, it ain't happened, it ain't true. And he was right. And so we played that truth. So as an artist, I was courageous enough I'm going to play that truth. Because that other truth, you'll just be acting a version of what you saw another actor do. So I'm always on a journey with the actor to find that truth. When I did Fences with Denzel Washington, he was following up. James Earl Jones had done it years before. I couldn't ask Denzel, be James Earl Jones. He's big and and I was like, no, Denzel has a sense of humor that people don't even understand. That cat is like, his comedic timing is great. His thirst and joy of life is wonderful. So I was like, let's find your Troy Maxon. You love your kid, you care about your kid, but you're also from another generation, so you're going to see things differently. So I always try to go with the actor I have and go on a journey of finding their truth in the material I'm working on.
While we're talking about actors, you work with different generations of actors. Tell me about the young generation that's out here now in their 20s and such. How different are they from the ones that you dealt with, say, 20 years ago or 30 years ago? I mean, because they're bringing a whole new type of perspective to things.
I think when I look at actors generationally, I think that there's some sameness and then there's some difference. You know what I mean? You know, think about when we were young. You always want to think about like, we know everything. When I was in college, I used to go home and talk to my mama. Yeah, we've been studying this with Dr. Jones, mama. You know, even trying to debate religion with her. You know, so I understand that. But the slight difference in these last 3 or 4 or 5 years has been some young people want to burn things down. Some young people don't have a respect for those who've come before. They're like, you guys messed it up and you're in our way. So can you just please get out the way, Mr. Leon? I'm trying to get to Broadway. Instead of saying like, how can I learn from you? Or how can you learn from me? So it's less of that than before. And some of us, I mean, the internet has done a disservice to us. You know, one of the things I always say to young folks that says, you guys got something we didn't have. You got the internet. We had to go to the library. You know what I mean? You got the internet, so that means anything you want to know, you can find. So what if you had intellectual curiosity, historical curiosity, religious, spiritual curiosity, and you can always pull it up. I said, if you can do that, you can combine both of those, like the will to want to create something that has never been seen or done, but also with your hand on the past of every artist that ever lived. You put those two together. That's beautiful. That's magic. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone in this generation who does that, who has a understanding about what they can create now, and also understanding of what happened in the past, and put those together. But I see a lot of people they want to make the world better, but they want to burn it all down without having an idea of what it looks like. But there are some brilliant young people. I'm working with this woman, Anissa Foles, who's a great young person. There are a lot of young, great writers out there now. And what I say to young people in my classes now, I said, this is my symbol. We need both. We need the old and the young. It's like I was talking to Mr. Belafonte the other day, and he says, you know what's happening, Kenny, is that we've lost our barometer, you know. And I think as black artists and as black people, we have lost that barometer. And I said, so, Mr. Belafonte, what should be done now? He said, well, just don't spend your time looking for the barometer. Spend your time wrestling with humanity and telling the truth as an artist to white and black people. But talk to black folks. Say, this is what I see. This is what I don't see. Tell the truth. On stage, on screen, and even in your interviews. Keep telling the truth. That's what you can do.
Do you see the industry, well, there's Broadway and then there's the rest of the theater industry out in the country. How healthy is Broadway at this point?
Broadway is very healthy. Broadway is like, they make what, 30 million a week? They made 30 million a week last year. They're making 30 million a week this year. The difference now is like, well, what individual shows are making or got a piece of that 30 million. So there are a lot more shows that are like, oh, this show ran for a short period of time and it's gone. But they got like, it's a crazy industry. They got like, for every play that fails, they got 5 plays, production waiting in line. It costs $5 million to produce a Broadway play and about $15 million to do a Broadway musical. And 70% of the shows that open on Broadway don't make their money back. But the 30% that do, they make it back really well. So what I always say as an artist, and I love being on that, it's like August Wilson, I love being on that highest stage, supposedly, because I want to be compared to the great artists that ever lived. You know what I mean? Or I don't want to be compared to. I want to be in that army with those great artists. You know, the Paul Robesons of the world. I want to be on that stage with Chekhov, Ibsen, August Wilson, Lorraine Hansberry. So, and there are things that we should be able to judge. Like, that's great storytelling. That's a great skill set. So, I want to be that way. But there's commercial success and there's artistic success. If I had to choose one or the other, I always want artistic success, because sometimes you're not, it's not about the box office. I need to tell this story, as Belafonte reminded me. It's like, you have to remember, you're telling Afrocentric work on a Eurocentric stage. And as black artists, we can't ever forget that, as long as we're doing Broadway. When we take our other plays to the community, that's one thing. When we take our plays to all of America, that's another thing. So as to my fellow black artists, like, why are you doing that? What do you want? What are you trying to... Everything doesn't belong on Broadway. So I'm always trying to speak, when I do Broadway work, I'm trying to speak to the whole country or the whole world. I'm hoping that this story will, that people will spend the money to come see it. I think there are price ranges for a lot of folks to come to Broadway who don't come. But also, it's, some of it's too much. Broadway is too expensive for the sets and the lights. But at the same time, there's some of us who will spend $300 for a pair of shoes that a kid's going to outgrow. So it's like, it's complex like that. But I love being on that raised stage just because of the craftsmanship. I want to work with world-class designers, and I think my plays from my mother's pantry are worthy of being on the highest stage in America. So, our work belongs